Breaking into the music business is a unique journey for everyone, but the love of music and the culture is the connecting tie.
These are the untold stories of how Canada's most prominent Black entertainment professionals got started in an industry that never sleeps.
I'm Adrian Wallace.
And I'm Tera Beljo. Welcome to Season 3 of AMPLIFY.
In a world drowning in thought leaders and influencers, it's tempting to think you're just another face in the crowd. But here's the raw truth. You've got an ace up your sleeve. Something that's uniquely, unapologetically you. Forget the cookie-cutter success stories. Whether you're a rookie hustling for your first break, a veteran eyeing a radical pivot, or someone hungry to leave a dent in your industry, it's time to weaponize what makes you different. It's time to stop asking for a seat at the table and start building your own. Despite witnessing and experiencing firsthand the uphill battle Black artists face in this industry, award-winning recording artist Marika Siewert got a superpower. She's not pulling up the ladder behind her. Instead, she's building an entire elevator.
You know, I go on tour to a mainly white crowd, but it's my mentors saying, you are valuable, you're talented, you're excellent, you're seen, I see you. And we know we go into spaces still that people are still disrespecting me. You know, we just finished a cross-Canada tour where some of the sound people wouldn't even address me directly, and I'm the special guest on the tour. And, you know, one guy was like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to him. And of course, all my crew were like, don't you be saying that to her? And I'm like, And you gotta I had to walk away. But then we go, how are we gonna deal with that differently? So more people like me can walk into these spaces, do what we're supposed to do, and be respected for it. And it's not a lot to ask, but it's about educating. And I think, you know, having a space like this to tell these stories, because I watched all the seasons, and the stories are amazing. The people are amazing. You know, talking to all the crew today, amazing, amazing people. You actually add to the film industry, to the music industry, and I think it should be heard and seen far and wide. And I will do whatever I can to make it seen and heard far and wide as well.
Brandon Gonez, a name that's become synonymous with authenticity in the media landscape, stands out by embracing what makes him real.
I think what I bring to the table that makes me successful is me. And that's why I always urge everybody to show up as yourself. And don't be afraid of that. Unfortunately, sometimes when we do show up as ourselves in certain spaces, we're told that's not okay. But bun them people, right? We have to understand and always remind ourselves that we have value, and what we bring to the table has value. Whether somebody sees that value or not, somebody else will see that value. And so I try to show up as myself authentically, and to lead with love and compassion and empathy. Really, that's the most important thing, because you can have good days, you can have bad days. So any decision that I'm making, I try to look at those decisions from that lens. Dealing with people also from that lens. And that's just who I am, and it's worked for me, and I don't want to change. And I also don't think I can change.
Known for his groundbreaking work in music videos, Director X has an uncanny ability to pull greatness out of the people he collaborates with.
When it comes to work, I'm serious about the work. I'm very serious about the work. Yeah. I have a visual sense and a good story sense, and I've now found how to really work with everybody and get the good ideas out and do it all together and keep the focus on the larger job, right? And the thing we're all trying to do together, as opposed to some kind of ego play where someone's got to be their thing. The thing, it's our thing, and get us all here, right? And get everybody, come on, say it. What are you thinking? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What? Right? And knowing how to listen to people in their role. If you're my director of photography, I don't need your opinion about the music. I want to pull your ideas about the lighting out and the shots. That's what if you're from the music, I don't need your opinion about the art direction. And what do you think? What's the song? So getting people to really feel free to express within their space. I think I'm good at that, especially like when I do a TV show or something. You'll see after maybe about a week, you'll start seeing departments when they begin to realize oh, this guy wants my ideas about my job. And then you'll begin to get the people like, hey, X, I was thinking, what if we did this? Yes. Hey, what if we, yes. You should be having fun. It should be a good time, right? You know, again, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of serious stuff going on and all that, but within the art of it all, we're supposed to be giving and expressing and enjoying, and yes, you hear a lot of yes from me.
Gail Case, executive director of the Black Academy, has a wealth of knowledge and expertise that makes her an indispensable asset.
I don't think there's a lot of people out there who've done television, who've done advertising. I actually went to school for advertising as well, and then went into the music industry. And then on top of that, I worked in the funding space. So when Kid and I had our company in Canada, you can get funding if you're an artist looking to create commercially released album, or you're a festival. We give funding. The Canadian government gives funding, and we got funding for our label. And then I ended up becoming the director of client services at that same funding institution, I think, 15 years later?
Success isn't just handed to you. It's forged in the fires of risk-taking, even when those risks don't pan out. Brandon knows this all too well.
Yeah, we're always risk-taking. You know, to stay relevant, especially in the digital media world, you have to continuously take risks. Sometimes those risks are going to pay off, and sometimes they're going to fall flat. But like I said, like, when they fall flat, I'm happy when those risks fall flat, when something that we tried didn't work out, because there's so many lessons that then we learn of what not to do, and then what we potentially could do better. It also gives not just me, but, you know, my colleagues and their, you know, their junior members and stuff like that, the opportunity to fail. Because the more you fail will then lead to more success. And so in digital media, like we try things and we pivot all the time. And we've been thrown some crazy roadblocks, okay? Like, what people don't realize is that it's not like we're operating in America, where it is a free capitalistic society, go big, go home, go as big as you can. Unfortunately, in Canada, we've had some regulatory roadblocks that have hindered us, and came at a time when we, you know, expanded our business significantly. Like, we doubled the size of our team with the acquisition of Now, for example. And then, you know, some legislation came into play that provoked one of the big tech players to stop a certain, you know, news content from being displayed to Canadians. That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's not of our doing. That's because of legislation. And so you got to think about that sometimes, where it's like, you know, these new innovators creating opportunities, jobs, all these things, the ripple effects being hampered. You know, so yeah, so when I tell you, like, when we had to pivot. But that shows you when you have a good team, because when you can pivot correctly and still be successful and still continue to grow, but that comes from taking risk and failing, and then applying those lessons to succeed.
And no one embodies the art of pivoting and transforming obstacles into stepping stones more than the multifaceted journalist, publicist, and author, Dalton Higgins.
I have had to switch up my different careers. I've had to pivot, because you have to, in the world of popular culture, to include music entertainment, you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to keep your finger on the pulse and see where the trends are, right? You have to be what we call a futurist. I'm a bit of a futurist, so I try to predict things before they even happen. That's part of what I do, right? So I can look at something. I'm going to give you a story. I was working for a .com back in the early 2000s, right? So this is when there was no real .com scene. I was working for a New York-based .com called indieplanet.com and shine.com. So at the time now, that was like the gold rush, when venture capitalists were just throwing a bunch of money to people that had cool ideas. So let's say somebody says, hey, I want to do a series on independent hip hop in New York or Toronto, right? Or San Diego or San Francisco. So venture capitalists were throwing a lot of money at people that were doing those things at the time, right? So me, I'm always looking like 5-10 steps ahead. And so you're going to become, like a multi-hyphenate. Lots of pivots, right? If you're keeping your finger on the pulse. So as a journalist, for example, you have people that, my generation, Generation X, and they're still trying to, work at newspapers. Work at print newspapers, right? Right? Every major city has a print newspaper. You pick up a newspaper. Are people reading newspapers like they once did 20 years ago? No, they are not, right? So that's pivot number one, right? That's how I transitioned out of that into presenting and publicity, right? Transitioned out. So I'm a formerly trained journalist who had to pivot my way out of that scene, seeing that there's a downward spiral as far as the traditional newspaper industry, print industry. It's going down the toilet, right? That's what's happening. So you have to be able to properly navigate and maneuver yourself out of that situation.
In an industry where confidence is key, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by uncertainty. DJ and producer Jester is a creative force who knows that self-doubt is part of the journey.
Sometimes you do doubt yourself, and because you ultimately want the best for yourself. And I think that's healthy. I would never, some people call it self-sabotaging. I just call it growth. I call it change. Everything changes. So, and you grow from your experiences. So to me, when something doesn't happen, that means there's something bigger and better out there for you. It may not come tomorrow or the next day after that, but who knows? It may come 10 years from then, but that growth is going to happen.
We know that legacy is important, but so is self-awareness, since it can guide us in shaping a legacy that resonates not just with ourselves, but with future generations.
We have a lot of work to do here, and we're a bit delusional in this country, I think. I think we think we're further ahead than we are. But I like to look at, real measures of equality, right? If you're a rapper in Toronto, are you getting work opportunities? Are you being looked at by the major labels and the mid-size labels, right? Are you getting booked to play shows, right? Are you getting grant monies? I look at the real hard measures of equality. That's a journalist in me, right? I don't care about feel-good moments or if you feel good. No, let's look at the hard numbers. Let's look at the hard statistics. Let's look at the data, right? How are we faring as a community of musicians and managers? How are we faring, right? That's the only thing that interests me right now, right? How are we faring is if we look at the hard data, right? We're not faring so well, okay? Those are the facts. So we need to shift that, change that, hopefully in my lifetime.
And when it comes to legacy, it's essential to recognize the change that can come from collaboration. Gail is at the forefront of this movement, working alongside Shamir Anderson and Stefan James at the Black Academy to bring about the transformative change that Dalton has been advocating for.
It's amazing. So the founders, Shamir Anderson and Stefan James, two actors from Scarborough that made it, and they came back home, and they just felt like when they were out there making their films and their movies, they didn't see much diversity behind the scenes. So they came back home, created this organization to create opportunities for Black people in Canada to get skills, the skills required to get into these types of positions. So I basically oversee the philanthropic portion of their companies. They have a couple of companies, and I oversee that one. And then there's the celebration piece where they have the Legacy Awards, and they really take change makers all across Canada and sharing Black stories on television. So it's amazing. I love the work that they're doing. They have two great partners, CBC, again, when you talk about full circle, that's where I started, and now CBC is one of our partners, as well as Insight Production, like the best production company in Canada. And just working with them, I feel very blessed, and I'm happy to bring the skills that I've acquired over the years into this organization, and I look forward to seeing what the future looks like for us.
A passionate journalist, Hillary is not just looking back at her journey, she's actively envisioning her future and all the incredible things she wants to manifest.
Definitely trying to scale the business and the companies. I think I love doing the red carpet interviews, and if I could manifest or throw out there or be anything, I would love to be the next person on the social or e-talk or having my own version of that show that is Black-led and Black-focused. While I don't want to be as gossipy as, let's say, like The View, I do think that championing Black female-led conversations, to be fair, anyone conversations, but also the queer community, also non-binary and trans folks. I think that we need to be hearing more from those people, and so I would love to be in those roles. But I also want to continue to thrive in my own company. It's hard to work for other people when you have a vision and a dream, and so I hope to just be successful in continuing to do that work. And if the Toronto economy can calm down, maybe I'll start to shed a job or two while maintaining the things that I absolutely love doing.
As we've heard from Hillary, the power of storytelling is not just about the present, it's about shaping our legacy and the narratives we leave behind. As an artistic director, Weyni Mengesha knows that the stories have the power to transcend time, connecting generations and cultures.
We have a concert that was written by Divine Brown, and I directed it. It's called Billy, Sarah, and Ella, the Revolutionary Women of Jazz. And it sort of highlights their stories and how they're intertwined. They all started at the Apollo, and the key role that they played in the sort of subversive nature in jazz, and what they did to, how they were pioneers in their particular way, which I love. And Divine also plays Billy, so that's something I'm really proud of. That's going to be opening in the fall. And I'm also, during the American election, doing a piece called What the Constitution Means to Me, where we will be, it's written by a woman named Heidi Schreck, who did it in the States, and we just finished a 3-day workshop where we're adapting it for a Canadian context. And it will engage the audience, and we will be doing a bit of a debate about keeping or abolishing the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, for the practice and for the investigation of how it actually protects women.
For Twysted Miyake-Mugler, an iconic figure in the ballroom scene, his legacy is deeply rooted in community and the creation of safe spaces.
I see a building, right? I see like the organization being able to like be housed in a physical building. I see myself working more in the community spheres, like doing more of that. I'm in school right now being an early childhood educator. So I'll be finished with that, but that's like daytime. But I love working with kids as well, and it's something that I do with the Ballroom Alliance as well. I think it'll be moving towards those things that kind of are, for lack of a better word, the business side of things, right? That's what I kind of see myself doing in the next couple of years. So like, yeah, having the organization continue to run, but more like a business in a place, in a center, and yeah.
For Carla Beauvais, a dynamic social entrepreneur and advocate for diversity and inclusion, she dreams of leaving a lasting mark that her daughter will see and feel.
There's so many things I want to do. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time to do it, to do all of them. But one thing for sure, I want to leave a legacy in my city, in Montreal. I don't know what form that legacy will take, but for sure I really want to, because it's okay to do events, to create stuff, and to like have program, but I really want to have like a place where I can see the community gather together, and that's gonna be a lasting legacy for our city. That would be one of my dreams. I'm still trying to see the form that it will take, but I wanna for my daughter, because I'm 46 and my daughter, she's 7. So I'll always think about, maybe I'm not gonna be able to see her when she's gonna graduate from university. Maybe I'm not gonna be able to see my first grandchild, but I want for her to have something that she can say that was my mother. She did that. So that's my next big thing, I guess.
Brandon's vision goes beyond personal success. He's building a legacy that empowers voices often left unheard in traditional media.
What I can tell you is that we're not done growing. And more importantly, we're not done serving our audience and the community. Because that's why we're here. At the end of the day, with all the glitz, what looks like glamour, success, I never got an award. I've never been nominated for an award. It's all good. Awards don't mean nothing, but I'd like to get one. One day. But we do this. We walk in the office every single day into the studio because we understand that we have to serve our community. People want to be informed, and we want to do that properly, authentically. We want to create content that's going to entertain. We want to create platforms for amazing artists in this country to be able to showcase their work. They should have a platform where they can do that, right? You shouldn't have to run to the States to get exposure. We should be able to have a microphone here that can do that as well. And especially, you know, if it's owned by us, like, you know, that's important, to be in control of our own narrative. People forget that sometimes. For so long, other people have told our stories, and we're begging them to tell it correctly. F that. We'll tell our stories. We have the ability to do that. And that's why I love digital media, because it has democratized that ability to do so. We're not beholden to 3 players in the broadcasting space because you need $1 billion to start a network. No. Now we have the ability to write our own stories, to be the owners of our narrative. And I'm just so happy about that.
Twysted's journey is powerful, but he's not the only one with a story like this. There are countless voices out there that have yet to be heard. These narratives, often overlooked, hold the same weight and significance, waiting for their moment to shine.
I'm not the only gay. I'm not the only black. I'm not the only person from the hood. I'm not the only person from Finch. I'm not the only anything, right? So I just think that it's just not heard. Many of these stories are not heard often, so it's going to feel like that. But I come from a community with a whole bunch of people that look like me, that have the same stories like me, that none of this is going to be a shock to, right? So, yeah. That's the only way I could really answer that. It's just that it's not a often heard story or often heard perspective, but it's definitely not unique.
As we wrap up this season, let's celebrate the richness of these experiences and recognize that every story contributes to the vibrant tapestry of our culture. Each one adds depth to our understanding of community, resilience, and the legacies we're all building together. It's the perfect time to listen, to reflect, and to elevate those voices that have been waiting in the wings. Together, we can amplify these stories, ensuring they resonate far and wide. Until next time, let's continue to uplift each other and create a future where every story matters.